Hey guys, welcome back. I don't just suspect this episode's going to be a good one. I know for a fact it's going to hit home for so many people, most likely you. We talk a lot about Maslow's hierarchy of needs in this conversation, so I just want to take a moment to walk through each of those steps to give a little bit more context. So at the bottom of the pyramid, we've got the physiological needs, and that's part of the basic needs, which is food, water, warmth, and rest. And then another basic need is safety. We have to have security and safety. And those two things are what are encompassed in the basic needs. And then you move into the section of the pyramid that's more psychological needs. So it starts with the belongingness and love needs, like intimate relationships and friendships. And then it moves into esteem needs, prestige and feeling of accomplishment. Then that last tip of the pyramid is self-actualization. It's the self-fulfillment need, and that's achieving your full potential, including creative activities. So I sat down with Jeet. He's not only my buddy, he's a mentor and a coach, as you'll hear. He's also the author of a very powerful book called Creating an Impact. We're going to talk about that today. And we're diving into the differences between wants and real needs. If you're someone right now who's ever felt like success should feel better than it does, stick around. This is a little bit longer than normal, but it's very worth it. We just had such a fun time getting into this topic. So I promise that today's episode is going to give you a fresh lens, some real clarity, and we always end in practical steps. So let's jump in. I'm particularly excited for today's conversation because it's so applicable to my personal life. I struggled with the difference between wants and needs for so long. And you're probably going to hear a couple of, the crazier stories from my youth, maybe.
Yeah.
But before we jump into that, I really want to just set the stage for this conversation for the listeners to understand that, we can go through Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then how do you compare and contrast those to different wants we have? So what's the difference between real needs and just the way humans want things?
Yeah. And if you think about needs and wants, they feel similar, right? But let's go into this two things. What human beings need. So when we are born, what do we need? We need water, food, sleep, shelter. Those are our basic needs. They are the physiological needs. And for kids, there is nothing called what I want. I need to get food. I need to sleep. I need to do a few things to even survive. And that's what parents provide to kids. But as we grow up, there are a bunch of things we learn. Say, I want to get this bag before I go to school. I want this dress, and I want to get this, and I want to get I want to get a bike, and I want to get a car eventually. All of that come along with. But do they belong to need or do they belong to want? Now, sometimes initially that could be want, but then it becomes a need. Car might be a want 50 years ago, but now that's a need for the transportation. So I would like people to understand they will look very similar, want and need. And I want us to start exploring. It also depends from human to human, right? So there are basic necessities. The needs are also necessities. You need to really look at from those lenses and that point of view. And therefore, needs can also be necessities, and necessities can be need. But sometimes want can come to need side. So I give a long explanation of this one.
Give me an example of a want becoming a need.
Right. So I want to have a nice suit was my thing.
I see it. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It was very important for me to I want to dress up properly. It was my want. But as a CEO, when I get on the stage and if I want to have a presentation, it is a need to dress up, to represent this company.
I get that now.
Right? So want can come into the need side, but basic necessities and the need are food, shelter, sleep, some of these basic human physiological needs. The rest is all want, but then want can go into the needs also too.
So we're going to be exploring how to identify those. We're going to give some practical steps along the way. Now, I can speak on my behalf, and I'm confident that I'm speaking on behalf of many, many, many other people, that it takes real work to start looking at the needs and how are we going after them, but or how are we pursuing them in a way that's meaningful. But before that, I would say a huge majority of humans globally don't actually spend the time investigating. I did some research before the conversation. There's very little empirical evidence that says they're actually interested in exploring their psychological needs. And that's really because physiological needs need to get met. You got to eat. You're going to die if you don't. But when you start getting into the psychological side, the relational needs and things like that, we don't often, and I'm just
No.
generalizing, but most humans, I would assume, don't spend a ton of time really investigating why that is there and how it applies to their life.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think this is on not only in this area, Eric, but in many areas of people's lives. Um, I just simply believe that human needs to discover themselves. They need to explore themselves, but they don't. Why? Because they're too busy in their own day-to-day activities. We don't even know how fast this life goes away. Um, so I experienced that. I used to experience for myself because I didn't even know that I needed to discover those things for myself. So human beings don't pay attention to details. Human beings don't understand their own needs. Human beings don't want to spend any time. In fact, they don't even think they need to discover this area of their life because that's how life is. And not only how life is, that's how they see life is being lived. So until unless you pay attention to, oh, this is my want, this is my need, this is why physiological needs, psychological needs, what is the particular thing which I want or don't want. We just get up in the morning, we do our thing, we just brush our teeth and go to work and drive the car around and then go and have a dinner with family and then we sleep like a baby. That's how human beings lived. But people don't even understand that there is a life beyond that normal routine. The question which I ask people, are you living a life that you love and living it fully? And that brings them to a point called, oh, what do you mean? And I say, buddy, are you living a life that you love? And people say, I don't even know what life I love. I have never looked at life through those lenses. So I say, oh, life is passing by in front of your eyes before you know you are done. But what's the goal? Where are you going?
And they're totally being held back by not exploring that.
Yeah.
They're missing out on people that don't spend the time investigating get held back in so many ways. And I think, at least in the experience of some of the folks I know and how I used to be, I was always justifying, well, I can't get that car because I don't make enough money because I'm not this, that, and the other. Like we make up all of these excuses and narratives that actually are the things that are holding us back, which don't allow us to explore what you're talking about, which is, do I actually wake up and like, yes, another day, this is a good life.
Yeah. Either we have reasons or we have results.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of reasons I hear all the time from people around. Why? Because they think that's the only way you live. But do you live that way? I've seen people want to become an entrepreneur. They want to become a good singer. They want to become a good dancer. They want to have a good instrument playing thing. They want to sing. They want
Get
to
in shape.
Right, get in
Yeah.
shape. Being a leader in the organization, being something. But when I ask them, "Oh, are you?" and they say, "No, I have my own regions." And I ask, "Oh, you have your regions, but what about the life that you want to live?" "Oh, that I want to." And I say, "No, you need to." Right? That's another psychological part of the conversation we can extend this to is something which you think as a want can be a need because the life is happening now. So I want people to look at life through those lenses called, are you living a life that you love and living it fully? And if not, why not? And challenge yourself. Are you going to justify your life through regions, or are you going to commit your life to produce the results that you would like to see in your life?
And how does that play into things that are harder to define, like relationships? We desire to be in relationships, friendships, romantic relationships. But how do you take a look at that and then separate it from that dopamine hit of validation from being in a relationship or something like that?
Or being rejected by others.
Yeah.
Validation, people can still say, oh, I can, but I don't want to take any steps that will create any possibility, any element of other person won't like me, right? Looking good and avoiding looking bad. Both plays hand in hand.
Story of my life.
Isn't
Up until recently, yeah. Woo.
isn't it? Like, for example, I'll give you an example of it. My son, Jay, he went to Berkeley. He was working hard. It was 2021. And it was in mid of pandemic. And he had to stay back at his apartment back in Oakland, Berkeley area. And he worked very hard, right? When you are getting your degree done, undergrad, in 3 years in computer science at Berkeley, it was very hard. So he put up a lot of weight because he was not going out. He was no walking, no exercise, nothing. He had to confine himself into that apartment and stress of the studies and everything. So whatever he could eat, he ate. And he ended up probably 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier.
I'm personally shocked that someone in your family doesn't do 10,000 steps a day.
Correct? And so that was it. And so when Viju, my wife Viju, and I went to pick him up after he finished his degree, I had a real conversation with him. Viju, like in our home, we had a real open, candid, loving conversation. You talk about psychological needs. It made me feel how committed I was for Jay to have that conversation. Jay was himself also very committed, but I could have avoided that conversation. And I sat across the table and told him, Jay, you have to lose 30, 40 pounds, buddy. You are not in a shape, right? To the extent that you are reaching at a place where people will call you fat. And that's not who you are. And a very vulnerable conversation. You could imagine a father and son and Viju family, and we all sat together. And to anyone's surprise, we really designed our home. We brought our bike downstairs, the right for where he can exercise, and we put it in all kind of stuff for him. Start eating properly at home. We create a whole structure around him. So,
and that's your love, and it's not an aesthetic thing. You're not saying, hey, you're looking fat, you should look better. It's not about the appearance. It's about the health that you care about.
And also, it was not a judgment. It was not a evaluation. It was not putting him into the box. It was none of that. And to his credit, he took it like, oh, Papu, I understand. And I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do what is required. So you talk about psychological needs. I'm very committed to express my love. But how do you express your love without being vulnerable in the conversation?
And you do that not just in your home. You treat In Time Tech like your family as well. And I remember one negative Glassdoor review we got that said, "Oh, and Jeet called me fat." And well, first off, no, the situation was not Jeet called you fat. It was Jeet cares about health so much for everybody that he tried to have that vulnerable conversation with you, the same one that you had with your son. And the person just couldn't take it on.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I would never call someone fat.
Totally.
Right? Because that's not who I am, and that's not the other person is for me, ever. But if someone is at a level where that level of weight is not working or doesn't work for that human being, what choice do I have? If I cannot let that happen for my kids, why should I let that happen for my employees? And therefore, I will call it out with love and affection. It's not a body shaming. It's not a judgment. It's not evaluation. It's not about anything other than, oh, I don't like you. No, I love you so much. Do you like yourself? And if you don't, as someone who someone cares about you, I'm going to say what needs to be said. Now, if you don't like it, we can have a conversation. I can come along. I can come along to go to gym with you. I can eat proper. We can remove all the junk food around if you really want. But if something doesn't work for other human being, I'm going to do or say something as a need that I have to live that way in my life. It's not a want or I want to say. No, I need to say because I care that much about other human beings.
And it's not just you saying things. People actually come to you. Many people come to you to say, hey, I need to shed some weight.
Absolutely.
Can you come along with me?
And also they also say that I thought twice before I came to your
because you know
office.
they're going to kick their butt.
Yeah, you're going to make it real for me.
Yep.
And that's how it is. So we are exploring needs as a physiological need. They are very easy, understood. Food, shelter, sleep,
Yep.
basic things. Food, shelter, clothes, shelter, and basic elements of living life.
Warmth, yeah.
Right. But the want, I think there are certain kind of things which can become your need. But in order to make those as a needs, you need to be very clear the kind of life that you want to live and live it, that life full out, morning to evening, day in, day out, consistently throughout your life, because you are clear. Not living that way is not an option. Then only you can convert that want into the needs.
And that's beautiful about your level of leadership. You've kicked my butt many times. And what that's done for me is yielded tremendous results because my entire life was marked by wanting to belong. I grew up homeless, drug addict parents, very, very crazy childhood, just extreme poverty. And that really brought me into a place of, man, I need to belong with my peers. And so I would go full bore. Like I started with skateboarding and then I became a competitive skateboarder. And then the next thing was snowboarders, started doing that. And then the next thing was motorcycle riding. And I got onto a professional stunt team. And like I always go as hard as I can, but it's not because I enjoy those things necessarily. It's a mechanism that if I can be the best or one of the best in something, I'll belong to people.
Oh, yeah.
And the amount of chains that put on my arms and feet, just holding me back like crazy, all the way up to, we did adventure cooking for a while. I ended up on the cover of magazines and stuff like that. And it was always, every day was just like terrifying that someone's going to say something bad on social media, or that was not a way to say I love my life.
Wow.
I did not. At the core level, the psychological level, oh my gosh, I was so empty. And because of coaching, because of what you've done over the past, 3 years with me, I can genuinely say I don't care anymore. I don't have anybody to impress. I don't have a reputation to keep. I know what I'm about in life and what I show up to do. And I wish there was a way to express to all the listeners in a way that they'd understand like how valuable and joyful that freedom is. It's an incredible thing.
And Eric, you're living a life that you love and living it fully. And it started from the place called, I don't want to live this way. I think somewhere people have given up and given up the hope and the dreams that they have, and giving into the situation and circumstances they find themselves into. I think somewhere people need to realize that they are designed for something bigger than themselves. And until you explore, until you seek, it's not possible. I think there are two sides of the things I want human beings to look at it. First, are you enjoying your life? And if not, why not? I always talked about. So, okay, I'm not fully satisfied. Don't justify. Don't find reasons. Oh, it's not possible. If you want to be an entrepreneur, go for it. If you want to be a leader, go for it. If you want to be someone, no matter whatever that you want. Now, before even you want, you need to really start looking, what do I want? Just sit for a moment and ask a question. What do I want? Do I want what I have, or do I want something more out of this life? And that is a profound way of first level of achieving that exploration awareness. Because not very many human beings are able to even ask that question. So I want to make sure, Eric, that's what you want. Like I ask you, I invited you. I challenged you. What do you want?
And it wasn't just one. It was like, hey, I see something that you don't see.
Yeah.
When I first got here and oh, look at how good I'm doing at this marketing thing. Like, oh, the engagement's way up. And you called me into the meeting with two other founders I have no idea what I was walking into. And you said, are you ready for a conversation? And I'm like, uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
And you said, I want you to know you land really pridefully to people. And in my world, I was thinking, oh, I'm encouraging them because they hired the right guy and they look at the results. And really, none of that needed to get said because the results are results. They're there. They speak for themselves. I don't need to have any kind of value, or I don't need to belong to you because of what I produce. I belong to you because you're a loving man. And that's the relationship we have.
Oh, I can, and I experience that every day. Look how profound it has been. And I think you are not the only one, Eric, who has been that way. And the way you have discovered yourself and living this powerful life. I want to invite all our viewers and audience to really see whatever you do, are you doing it with an agenda that you need something out of other people? Even though you work hard, like there are many examples, and I wrote about them in the book. I was the similar. I was in the similar arena. I was in the same space. I used to work very hard. I used to be the captain of everything. I used to be the leader of everything. I had to speak the first one. I had to raise my hand the first. I had to speak very first before anybody could even have a chance to speak up. I had to take initiatives, all of that. And I used to think that is my responsibility.
Well, it's also the story you shared about cricket and how you broke
Yeah.
your finger. I thought that was a fascinating story.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share that one?
Yeah. And I think you can see I was always had to produce results as a kid because I felt that's the only way I had a chance to play. But eventually it became like, oh, I had to be someone who had to produce results because no one else was producing. So I went over and above and beyond all my limits and all my capabilities. And one time I was just running towards a ball which was way beyond my reach because I had to catch the ball. And in cricket, in outer field, you don't have a gloves. And so ball came in and then it hit my one of the fingers, index finger, and it just broke. And I felt at that time it was just jammed. It's like it's inclined, like you can see right now. Um, I felt like it may be jammed. It's not bad. I kept playing. There was no X-ray machine in my hometown in those days, and so it ended up broken, and then it just connected the way it is, and it
But you
doesn't.
still kept playing.
I kept playing, and I kept playing for not only that game, for many games after that with a broken finger, because I had to produce results.
That's the crazy. We push through that much pain just for
To
whatever.
be loved,
Yeah.
to be loved, to be accepted, to be acknowledged and recognized, to be valued. It goes so deep, Eric could not even imagine. It goes so deep in human beings' life, and that's how who I became. I came to work for HP. I used to work many places. I used to talk with many people. Every time I had to produce results, and all that it came down to my need to be accepted, to be recognized, to be loved.
And so you weren't always this way. You still produce results. It's for a very different reason. But I'd like to bring this conversation practically. How does that apply to other things in life like business? How does where you're at really inform the decision-making process that you have as like a CEO, for
Yeah.
instance?
I think that's where it is, the transformation that one can really go through. Once you explore, then you can discover, then you can choose, then you can create. So in my journey, when I got on the journey of exploration, I discovered myself. All what I do, there is an agenda behind. I thought I was making a difference in other human beings' lives, but actually I had an agenda that I want to be loved. I was not making a difference in anyone's lives. I made myself feel good about that, but I was using, in fact, people to be loved, to feel good, to find my worth. And when I discovered that, I said, that's not who I am. Not at all. I was so mad at myself. It stinked. Um, at a level where I just could not able to speak for a few days when I really discovered myself what I was doing. And so once you really get to that place, I say, oh, I'm not going to be that way. Now, being hardworking, taking initiative, being responsible, being independent at times at that level, having a decisive approach, all of those are very good elements. And once I discovered myself, I made a choice that I'm going to keep all of these attributes around because they do so much, but I'm going to make a choice to really use them to make a difference in other human beings' life. I'm being loved. My worth is known. I'm good by design. And I got that peace. And once I had peace, now we talked about helping someone to lose weight or helping someone to really get to a leadership position or helping someone to get good marks, being a student, if those interact with me. All of that. So what I do, I use responsibility, hard work, my commitment, my initiative, all of that, but I ask questions. I don't really pay too much attention in those conversations about, are you liking me? Do you see my worth? Am I this? Am I that? I don't do. Instead of that, I mostly ask questions to see, okay, what's blocking that person? What's coming in that person's way? Even though that person is not liking me in the conversation, I'm okay with that because I know don't like me. What to like about Jeet? I'm good. I know why I'm doing it because it's coming from the place of love. It's coming from the place of my commitment for you. So in the process, if you're not liking, it's okay. But as long as it makes a difference in your life, don't like me. And that's okay because as long as you are really going to be a better human being and find your own worth and make a difference, you may say, I just freaking can't even stand up to this guy. He's so prideful. That's what we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I'm not prideful and I know that. But if someone can really make me feel that I'm prideful, you can feel it, but make your life better.
And one thing I want to clarify is it's not people not liking you all the time. Sometimes
Okay.
definitely. But it's a discomfort with what is being brought up. It's showing a mirror and asking you to look into it authentically. And you're saying, oh, there's some change that needs to happen if other people are seeing it. And that's uncomfortable. It's not that they don't like you, because coaching is not criticism. You're not criticizing that person for their behavior or their weight or whatever. It's coaching from
It's
love.
not about me.
Yeah.
The criticism happens because it's about me. I don't like it. Coaching is all about other person.
Yeah.
I want to make a difference in your life. But what happens, the person who's receiving cannot distinguish a time between criticism and coaching because it's uncomfortable. You need to work on yourself. And while other person have those emotions, they may not like you. And that's okay. This is what I can tell people. Sometimes they don't intervene because that intervention create that kind of a emotions creation, that kind of emotions show up for other human being. So it triggers something in other human being. And for them, who is coaching, when other person have those emotions, it make them uncomfortable because now you are at the recipient of that person's disliking. And so, but then I know that don't like me at all in those moments. Now, I can also tell you what you're really exploring. It's not about they don't like me. What they are really going through right now in that moment, in those scenarios, they don't like what they see for themselves. But that manifests into, oh, who is the one who is making me feel that way?
Yeah.
And so you become the target of that, while it's not about you at all. But that level of discovery and having that kind of a choice to be okay with that allows you to really make a tons of difference on this planet. That's how you create an impact on other human beings' life. I always say, without intervention, there's no transformation.
And calls to action, practical steps are a big part of these conversations. I want to give one of my own, which is find a coach. Look at the people in your network, See who's a few steps ahead of you, not just one step, but a few or many, and do something really simple. It sounds uncomfortable. It's not. I've done it a bunch of times. Hey, I see where you're at. I think a conversation or a lunch with you would really help me. Can I take you to lunch? And then buy them lunch, because they're doing you a favor. But it's simple. It's just people don't do it because it's not common in our culture.
Yeah, and I can tell you there is a whole new conversation around this, and I've never talked like that before. There's a difference between a therapist and a coach.
Yeah, totally.
I can give you a simple distinction between those two in my world. Therapist try to fix you. Coach will help you to thrive. Bad to good, there's something wrong. A therapist. You are a wonderful human being. You are good in the way you are. Now let's get to the great place. It's bad to good versus good to great.
Yep.
For me, I see every human being as a great in their own way. They are wonderful human beings. They're good the way they are. And I ask a question, but are you really living up to your potential? Are you enjoying your life? Are you peaceful? Are you satisfied? Are you happy? Are you joyful? Have you produced all the results? Do you think have you thought about doing something else in your life? Do you? All those questions. And if someone says, I'm good, I'm happy, not only through those words, but in their expression. It's not about how much you achieve. It's about how you feel what you have achieved. And genuinely, are you contained, not as a compromise? See, some people can be contained completely in their life because they've compromised themselves. Or you're contained as a creation. I'm good. I love my life the way it is.
And the contentment doesn't come from the accomplishment.
Yeah.
It comes from the process. It's just contentment in life. It doesn't matter what you're doing, and the results come.
Yeah.
But you're still content with or without them.
But I can tell you, Eric, I've met with many people. Initially, their contentment and being content in life come from the place of compromise. They say, I'm good. Life is good. And I say, really, buddy? Really? What will happen when your son or daughter is ready to go to college and they got an MIT or Harvard or in one of the best universities? Have you looked at your bank account?
Yeah.
It's going to cost you $300,000, $70,000, $80,000. What would it be for you if you really pay for your kids' education? Oh, I have not thought about it. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm just saving hardly any money, but I'm content. I say, how selfish it is. Maybe not. You can say, I don't care. But do you not care? How would it not be that you don't care about your kids' education?
I'm so glad you took it there because we can't have this conversation about wants versus needs without talking about money.
Yeah.
Money is required. Gotta have money to live. But really, the reason is something else, which is love.
Yeah. So let's talk about this one. How much, let's say you want to have $5 million, maybe a want. But you may want to have $1 million or $2 million in your bank account. That might be a need to take care of your family. Driving a nice car is not a want, but maybe it's a need where you want to make sure you are not spending half of your day to fix your car. Maybe you are not, want might be that I want to have a mansion and big castle in a super rich and affluent neighborhood versus I want to keep my family safe. I want to have enough comfortable house where my family and I can have a good time together.
Which is what I love about your house, by the way, because it's not a castle. It could be, but it's not. You very frugal or non-eccentric living. You drive a Tesla. It's not a huge house, but it's big enough to be comfortable. You host lots of parties there. We've been there many times. And that's really interesting to see that I guess I would call it humility.
But I'm telling you, Eric, and I probably, it's on record. I don't want to buy a bigger house than what I have. For me, it serves the purpose. In fact, it has got a lot of memories of the kids and everyone in that context. But for my need, I don't need a bigger house than that. I don't need a better car than what I drive right now, right? There was a time when I had a Honda Accord, used to break down every other day, if not every other month. And I said, okay, the AC is not working, things are not. That was like, it took away my space to do what I had to do. So I had to buy a car that's comfortable and really allows me to focus on what I really care about. So that's the part which I want people to think about. The need is something which you need to really create for a comfortable life for you and for yourself and for your family and for your loved ones. I paid for both of my for both of my kids' college education.
And they didn't go to cheap colleges.
Right. Oh, exactly. And I think that's the part which I'm very emotional about that part. Eric, if you ask me, my emotionalness comes from a guy like me who came from that kind of background. Many people know about my background, no education, no money, came to America at the age of 28, not having much, $120 in my pocket. Those times my needs were basic physiological needs: food, shelter, clothes, a place to sleep, basic needs. Um, and then eventually there are certain things came up, but then I started looking, my family was growing. I had to take care of them. And so initially in those days when I came to America, might be want, but they became a need because you want to give them a comfortable, uh, a comfortable, a better life. Because that's what you do as a human being. That's what you do as a father and mother and as parents. So I want to make sure that people continue to evaluate. Sometimes wants can be needs and needs can be wants.
Now, as an entrepreneur, you just shared about coming to the US, and I know your story, and I want to talk about the part of how does taking risks as an entrepreneur play into that idea of needs and wants, because you came with, like, I forget, $129 in your pocket, something like that.
$120.
120, and you lived in a tiny apartment, and you probably didn't eat very much.
Let's share about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'll be good for people to know. So I came in 99, worked for HP as a contractor. That's how I started my career. But I was very committed, very, very committed. Therefore, I started looking what was possible. So I grew up very fast from contractor to permanent employees. I grew up as a technical lead, architect, senior architect, master level architect. I grew up on the corporate ladder very fast because I knew what was possible. Along with that, my salary grew, but I was very clear about my future. I wanted to be an entrepreneur eventually. So I worked for HP 10 years before embarking on this journey of entrepreneurship. But during those 10 years, I lived in a 650 square feet apartment, single bedroom, with my kid. $625 in those days. Now rent has gone up in Boise area. That's all what I paid. I drove a Honda Civic. I bought brand new because I didn't get any loan or anything. There was a deal going on with Larry Miller Honda, 1.9% APR and brand new, the only car. And I gave down payment $500 and I paid off that. I saved so much money. Like I was making a six-figure salary and my spend was very little, like minimal level. And my goal was to save money so that I could embark on a journey of an entrepreneurship because I knew what was ahead. It needed money. So coming back to how needs and want, I wanted to be entrepreneur. And that want became, I need to be entrepreneur because I didn't want to die without trying my best. I didn't want to die without taking a shot at entrepreneurship.
Well, when you took your shot, talk about a risk right after the economic decline.
Lehman Brothers
2008.
fell in September 2008. That's when I registered in timetech.com
That's
domain.
crazy.
And I had, again, that kind of salary. I left and didn't take any salary whatsoever for 15 months and then took only $3,000 a month to take care of basics. So no salary, tons of responsibilities, two kids. Jay was 8 years old. Jay was 2.5 years old. Like that kind of a setup. And I said, no, it was such an important element of my life. I didn't want to die without taking a shot at entrepreneurship because it's worthy of a cause. It was a dream that became a need for me. It was not, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. No, I needed to be an entrepreneur because it was an expression of my life.
And you still do. I remember at the last couple fireside chats ago, somebody asked like, "Hey, where would you go to vacation?" And people that knew you laughed because they're like, "You're here at the office. That's where you'd go for vacation."
Correct. Exactly. Or there was in that regard, I think Matt and I had in one of our India, one of the yearly celebrations, we were playing the game that you need to guess about your partner, right? So Matt got a slip, and I got one, and say, where does Jeet go for vacation? Matt had to guess, and he wrote the answer, and I had to answer first before I had to disclose that, reveal his answer. So I say in the office, and he say, "Yep, in the office." So Jeet's vacation in the office.
That's awesome.
That was
So you have a life mission of creating abundance. It goes beyond entrepreneurship. That's a mechanism. Your goal is to make an impact. Excuse me. And one of the things you shared in your book was when you finally get to that self-actualization level and you understand the difference between needs and wants, it allows you to make a bigger impact for others. Why do you draw that line between those two things?
absolutely. So let's go to the Maslow's um, hierarchy of needs, right? That pyramid. It has 5 steps: physiological needs, safety and security, and psychological and emotional needs like love and belonging. All those 3 basics is about survival. It's about you, because you need food and shelter. You need to feel secure. You need to be loved, right? Find your worth. Majority of the human beings. There's another book out there, Travel Leadership. It also talks about,
such a good book,
right? And you say, life sucks, my life sucks, I'm great, we are great, life is great. So first 3 steps: life sucks, my life sucks, I'm great. All of those 3 steps are 74%. It's a research-based book, right? Out of that, 49% is I'm great, love and belonging.
So you're saying, so the 79% you said is
74%.
74% of humans.
Humans
they're stuck in those
first 3 stages. Only 26% people ever get to the top 2.
And that kind of goes back to my question at the beginning: is there's not a lot of empirical evidence out there. And why don't people examine? Why don't they want to break beyond that?
Absolutely. And I think out of those 26% on the top, 23%-ish people are 23% are in that called self-realization, right? They need to realize that life has a bigger meaning, that we are great. Then you go to the call, life is great. That's where the self-actualization happen, which is like only 2 to 4% people ever reach to that place, where they see their life mission. They are not stuck into the survival of, about physiological needs, safety and security, love and belonging. They are over it. And then they realize that life has a bigger meaning, a bigger purpose. And then they actually practice. Very few times you might have heard that word called, he's fully actualized being. Actualized being is not only you realize that you are a powerful being, but you are converting them into the actual reality, practicing that, showing up with that life is great. Not we are great, life is great.
And for we are great, that still can be tied to a scarcity mindset, because we're a great company. Other companies are not as good as us. There's competition. But when you get to that last, life is great, there's no more competition. It's an abundance mindset, because you're like, hey, you can do a lot of software solutions too. That's okay.
And that's called exactly creating abundance. And you know that, Eric. In our company, we don't talk about competition. There's hardly, you can go to our website, you can go, people ask me, who's your competition, Jeet? And I say, my competition is poverty. My competition is lack of job growth. My competition is not having enough possibilities where human being can be fully self-expressed. My competition is people are having limited possibilities and opportunities. That is the competition. That's the life is great, right? It's like another software company. And another thing which I do, you might have an experience, I share all the data.
Yeah.
Here's the financial thing. Here's our equity distribution. Here is the recipe. Go and convert it for you. Take it on. I'm also very open for people to come and talk with me any day, anytime. But they better be committed to convert that all the data they are going to go to make a difference in their life. Because if they don't, then I say, you're wasting my time. But there's no secrecy. We have hardly any secrets in terms of entrepreneurship. I don't have much secrets. Now, that being said, there is a confidentiality of something that, let's say, Eric, something which you shared with me that you really don't want me to talk, that's confidential information. I don't want to talk. There's a difference between being secret or secretive, but respecting people's confidentiality, right? But transparently, we share everything. That's one of our values. So life is great, self-actualized human being, creating abundance, making a difference, creating an impact. They all belong to that category.
I'm smiling because our conversation yesterday when the vendor came over and he's like, I can't believe you just shared those numbers with me.
Isn't it?
I've never heard that before.
And he was so touched, moved, and inspired.
Yeah.
He shared with me a video message after that and sent me,
nice.
right? And he was saying, gee, I never experienced a vendor partner being treated that way in any company. Like $5-10 $1 million company, you are like 35, let alone, any people care about you guys really welcome me and sat with me and share with me. Because for me, you are human first, role second.
Yep.
Every human being deserves to be treated with love and respect. That's the stand that I am. That's the stand I have. That's what I demand from me. That's what I demand from others. I don't let anyone treat me also any less than that either. So that's called life is great. Because when the self-actualized human beings when those kind of human beings show up, you can see, Eric, the dynamics and energy of the room shifts. Because they are not surviving into this first 3 stages of 74% that I talked about. They are not even realized. They are fully realized, no survival. Now they're practicing. They are in action.
And it's not just you. I want to share a quick story. A few of us just went to acquisition.com, got to spend some time with Alex Hormozy's team.
Yeah.
And they do this on the last day, they do this Q&A for selected business owners. Now, you weren't there,
Yep.
but we were. And Michelle actually got the opportunity to say something on the mic. And there was 9 people that shared, and I think Michelle basically went last. And you could see a very, very, very big distinction in the way she spoke when asking the question. And it's because of this idea of what we're talking about. There are no problems. We're just here to create, and here's a constraint we're experiencing. And I want to get your opinion on. And the way she shared was so inspiring. We had people come up to us after the event, said like, "Hey, can we all go over there and have dinner together? I want to talk more." And then we even it's crazy, and we still have those relationships.
And I think you, Skylar, Michelle, like you came to work here, right? I didn't even know you guys. Right? Then you can extend to other people that you guys lead. And this experience that you share in that conference, acquisition.com, these are the things is how life becomes great. We are not great. Life is great because wherever you show up, and also 8, 10, 15, 20, 30, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 employees who are going to come to work for In Time Tech, they all are going to experience the same thing.
That's literally my favorite thing about being here as a leader is watching my team have moments of, I love working here. Like I would have never thought I would have never heard from a leadership at another corporate company that says, hey, if you're not joyful, I'm going to help you fix that. If you're showing up to work in misery, we're going to really explore that, whether it's personal or professional, especially if it's personal. I'm going to do everything I can to come along as a coach, to come along as an encourager. And I love it.
And why don't people do that, Eric? I think, why don't people do that?
I'd say lack of example.
And lack of example. And also, I can also tell you, this is the reason why, because they got stuck into their needs of, my company, my thing, my balance sheet, my P&L statement, my challenges, my customer, all of that stuff. It's a minutia, day-to-day minutia they get stuck in. They can't even raise their head above the water to see what's happening in other human beings' lives. And so as a leader, it's not a want that I want to, it's a need for me. I have given my life to this cause called all employees at in time tag must be fully self-expressed. It is the same direction we are rowing. If you are not fully self-expressed, you should not work here. And I put my foot down. Now, the company is becoming large. That's why I'm coaching and mentoring other leaders to demand that level of thing down the line with the people that they lead. Because if you are not happy and peaceful and joyful, then what's the point of working at a place that you call it a workplace? Would you let that be at your family? Some people might, but what's the experience of living together when your family is in that state of being?
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's not good. So I want people to understand time is the essence. You've got a limited time living on this planet, out of which 24 hours you have every day. Now you can see 365 and then you multiply for 100 years, that much time you might have. And let's decipher that 24 hours a day. 8 hours you sleep, 8 hours you work, 8 hours you do and spend time with your loved ones. And if you're really not understanding that when you sleep, you are not pretty much not there, right? So you have a 2/3 life to experience out of whole life because 1/3 is not even available. Out of this 2/3, of that 1/3 total and 50% of that you spend at workplace. And if you are not happy, if you are grumpy and grouchy, and if you are not peaceful, if you're going through some challenges, as a leader, I put my foot down. And I want to invite all my fellow entrepreneurs, all the fellow leaders to do the similar thing. It's uncomfortable. It's people say it's none of my business. And I say, what do you mean it's none of your business?
Literally your business.
This is the business we are in.
Yeah.
As a leader, that's the business. That is the most important responsibility you have. So better develop your skills, acquire new tools, get good at it, learn, listen, understand, lead, do something, but don't let human beings suffer around you. It's not okay. Don't give reason. Don't justify. Oh, I don't understand and it's messy. No, humans are messy. I'm very clear about that. Why? Because the life is messy. In fact, humans are not messy. Life is messy because there are so many dimensions of life and humans need to survive in this life. But if you are reaching at a place called self-actualization, pull as many people out of this messiness and let them really realize and actualize of their life.
This was a few years ago that I heard this, so I don't know what the exact percentage is now, but it's like 5% of Americans enjoy their job.
Yeah.
That's so few people. That means 95% of people are living in misery for half of their coherent life.
Literally half of, because 50% of time you are spending, because I share 8 hours you sleep, so what is left is 2/3, and that half is this.
Yeah.
So half of your life you're spending at workplace, not enjoying.
And I can guarantee that flows into when you're not at work as well, because now you're exhausted, you're grumpy, whatever the case is, tired, and now you have your other half of your awake life, and that's affecting it.
No, are you kidding me? That you are wasting your 50% life at workplace and not enjoying, not being happy and peaceful and joyful, and not expressing your life through work, and leaders letting that happen. I just say, no, that's not okay. Why is it okay? For leader and for the people who are working here or anywhere. I take it personally because what's the point of living then? And I won't let that to happen around me, and I won't live that way. As a human being, that's my commitment.
What a loving goal.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I want to tie this conversation up. I want to put a bow on it, and I want to gift it to the listeners because that's all this is. Where this is a gift. This is an opportunity to learn and grow. So based on this conversation around wants versus needs, I always end with this last question of what is the practical steps to take just to start this journey? What's the next step?
Yeah. First and foremost, human beings need to ask a question. What do I want? What do I want out of this life? Whatever that might be. I want my kids to be powerful. I want my family to be peaceful. I want my work to be my full self-expression of life. Whatever. Define that want first. And then look at it. Which one you think are the need of the hour? That is your need, because I'm not talking about physiological needs. No one is suffering for food and shelter and clothes, none of that. I'm talking about psychological needs. But it will start with what you want out of this life. Define that first. Look at it. Challenge yourself. Don't give reasons. Don't justify. Don't explain. No, just look. And then see, no, I want to convert that into the needs. There is a whole product segmentation happen. It called jewelry, aspirin, oxygen. Like, what is the product fitment is? Something is good to have, something, I need to have, something I cannot live without, right? So want to have like a jewelry. I want to have this. Now look into that. If I don't make that happen, my life is passing by. I'm on a slow death, quote unquote, by not doing, in the case of aspirin, if I use that as a literal way. And users say, I'm slowly wasting my life. You're not probably dying, but you're wasting your life. And convert that into the oxygen. Super needed. Like, it's not my want whether I want to have an oxygen or not. It is needed to live. And I want people to really look, what do you need to express your life fully on this planet? And fight for it. Just like you would fight for oxygen if somebody put your head under the water. You will fight every bit of it. You will not stop yourself. So I want people to do the discovery. I want them to explore first and look at what needs to happen, and then make a choice and live their life powerfully.
And this is the time that we take to pause. Don't skip to the next episode yet. It's going to be a good one, but try that on. Let it sink in. Explore it. And that's where the work starts. And there's a lot of people that have done that work and have a lot of results to show for it. So thanks, Jeet.
Thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate this. Take care. Thank you for joining our conversation today. Remember, peace inside creates results outside. And if you like these conversations, please do subscribe to our channels. I'm available on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I want you to connect with your greatness. I love you all, and we'll see you in our next conversation.